So at this point, I would like to bring in my special guest. Is my guest on the line?
Yes, I am.
Oh, hi there, Irvin. And again, this is Irvin Lukin, and he's the owner of EasyToCollect.com. And Irvin, how long you guys been around?
We actually opened our first location in 1985, so we're celebrating 30 years of selling.
30 years. And this is an actual store that people can actually go in and look for what they might need, right?
We have a huge retail location in Fair Lawn on Broadway,
New
Jersey. In Fair Lawn, New Jersey, and then we do sales all around the world via mail order.
Mail order. Okay. So then people can go to your website, which would be EZ, and again, it's E and Z, and then the number 2, collect.com, and that's an easy name to remember as well. This is a great name also. I haven't gotten a chance myself because a lot of times I know the owners directly who I speak with and on the show and the services. I've been involved with benefits now for like over almost 25 years or more, and a lot of the benefits I use myself. I'm looking forward sometime soon in the upcoming, spring and summer to come up there and look, for things that I collect as well. I see that you have here over 100,000 LPs or record vinyls, right?
Yes. Largest collection on the East Coast.
The largest collection.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be all kinds of music?
Yes, we really have a wide selection of almost anything that falls in the umbrella of hard to get or memorabilia or deep catalog, things that you just can't get anywhere else, which is why we do what we do.
Okay. And do you also have like comic books as well?
We have just a small amount of comic books because actually there's a nice store in the area that does a good job with comic books. But we do have related stuff, Batman stuff, Superman stuff, collectible figures, collectible games, anything to do, anything that you've ever heard out there that's collectible or entertainment interest, we carry it, whether it's Groucho Marx or Lucille Ball, whether it's Marilyn Monroe or Marilyn Manson. We go after the unusual items and the items you just can't get anywhere in mainstream retail.
Okay, now I think that's kind of important. You just said the mainstream retail. So you're not like a comic book store, which is that kind of comic books and all. That's why I mentioned that, because you do it on the other end. You do it more on the rarity. Trying to find rare items that people might be looking for.
Well, I don't want to get too lost on us being the only place where you can get super rare items, which you can. I mean, in the record world, there's a record by the Beatles called The Butcher Cover. You'll see it on Antiques Roadshow, and we have 2 copies of it. But that's more expensive and more in detail than most people are looking for. What we really do here is we sell the things that people really enjoy that mainstream retail can't afford to carry. The Best Buys of the world or anybody that you would think of in mainstream retail, they want items like the iPhone 6 where you can order a pallet of them, and when you're halfway down on the pallet, you order another pallet of them. And you keep ordering boxes and boxes of the same thing until they come out with a new model. So there's no real retail formula that says you could have the second Kansas album in stock or a CD of Sgt. Pepper's in stock that you might only sell 3 of over the course of a year. So what we do here is we have all those items. DVDs, a lot of people are streaming, but people love to have the physical copies of the movies they really like. Doesn't pay for Best Buy to have them in stock, but we do. And the same thing is true of records and cassettes and blank cassettes and reel-to-reel tapes and 8-tracks. and it just goes on from there. There are so many things that in the day people loved, and they did provide a great service and entertainment to people, but it's not something that fits in the formula of a major mass marketer with regional directors and tractor trailers delivering product. You can't have 100,000 items in stock, and be Best Buy. It just doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we do that here.
And people are able to go on your website, which I am at now, and people are able to call you, and people are able to ask for your advice or see what they're looking for. You'll be able to help them.
We do a lot of reach out, and we're easy to access. You've given the website. The store has, obviously, phones here, and you can actually walk into the store, of course. And we're happy to help people because, once again, not only does mainstream retail not support the stuff that we have, but some people don't even have the ability to find out. Records are very hot right now. A lot of people have record players sitting in their houses they haven't used in 20 years. Now they want to use them. Nobody in Best Buy is going to, teach them how to put on a belt or change a needle or tell them whether it's fixable or not. There's just no expertise in that. Nobody's sending out a toaster to get it fixed anymore. So we provide at least that service as well of telling people, the only way you're going to find that movie's on VHS because it never came out on DVD. The only way you're going to find that recording is on CD because it never came out on LP. And just on and on of items like that.
Well, that makes great sense. I mean, you sound like you were talking to me. And that's why I want to take a trip out there. I have a record player that's a portable one with a handle. It's a Magnavox stereo, and it's like a little suitcase. You open it up, and the record player is there, and you have the different speeds and all. And I have never plugged that in because I'm afraid of blowing out my whole neighborhood out, because of God knows it seems like it's working right, but something like that, I have it with me. It might need a needle, and I'll be able to come down to your shop and then bring it over to you guys, and you guys be able to look at it and maybe. I can
certainly evaluate what you've got in your hands and whether it pays to go any further with it or not. Again, we're used to seeing what's supposed to work on stuff. So when something isn't working, we have the knowledge to know. What's wrong with it. And
again, I've been afraid to even plug it in because I don't want to burn something up, inside a record player. It's a Magnavox, and I just want to take it to someone that knows these products and see that everything's okay with it. Like you say, changing the belt if it needs. So let's say if I need to change the belt, and which will make sense. I'm assuming these belts are rubbery, if I recall in the past, and they lose their tensity, right? They lose their tension on their belt.
Yeah, belts are basically glorified rubber bands, but for the turntable, it has to be exactly the right size. So you can't just use a rubber band. But exactly, they tend to dry out like a rubber band does, and needles tend to wear out. And absolutely, when you have something that plugs in electrically, you should always, be cautious if it's not something that's brand new out of the box, because electricity, it can be a dangerous thing. So people do bring stuff into here. We take a look at it, and we have the ability to plug it in a certain way, and I can tell before I plug it in whether it pays to plug in. Again, there's a lot of vintage. Vintage is very hot in a number of different markets, and in records and in memorabilia, vintage is a hot market for us as well. So you can't plug everything in. We go all the way back. We have wind-up players here. We have record players that run on no electricity. You actually cranked it up in 1905, and that's how you played records back then. They were 78s. So there are people who want to capture some sort of vintage time going from the beginning of the 1900s up until today. and not everything can plug in. I wouldn't recommend plugging something in from 1955 without having somebody look at it. And we're happy to provide that service because, once again, where else are you going to go? The repair guys, they don't exist anymore because nobody fixes a DVD player, nobody fixes a VCR, nobody fixes their TVs anymore. If it's a $10,000 TV, then, it's under warranty. And if you paid $340 and you have it for 6 years and it fritzes, it goes to the curb and you buy a new one. So, when you're dealing with this old stuff, it can't be replaced with another old thing. That's why you need someone to try and help. Not that we're a repair shop, but to get that experience, you have to have people who know what it is we're talking about. What is this that I'm looking at? Like your Magnavox player. Magnavox hasn't made a record player in quite some time. So your record player will probably spin around. It doesn't work on the same kind of band that some of the newer ones after that Magnavox did. So you'd probably have everything going there except for maybe a needle because the needles were pretty cheap. So I kind of know that going into it, but of course until you walk through the door and we take a good look at it, we can't be sure.
Irv, I mean, that's great advice because I guess intuitively I know that I like it because I bought it years ago. And I said one day I have some old records from my dad, vinyl records that my dad, classical music and some other great music, and I always kept that because, again, it's the memory of my father. My father passed in '89, and and then that music, again, certain things in life, music, smells, bring up certain memories. So I want to listen to it like I did in the past. And these are the record players that we had back then. So, I mean, I guess we all lose that. I mean, maybe now for the younger people in our audience, but the older people like myself, we still remember, with our parents and the sound. And I think you can replicate that great old sound, is unique compared to the stuff that's there now. Do you think, Irv?
Absolutely. There's a certain warmth and fullness to the sound of records in particular. And nostalgia as well is one of the things that what we do here fills in for certain people because people are chasing things that are important to them. And for some people it's old issues of Lucille Ball and I Love Lucy on DVD, and for other people it's listening to Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass because they listened to it with their folks when they were young, and they want to feel that sound again. It's interesting. I'm sorry.
No, it's just that old record player, when you hear the little crackling of the noise and you hear. I mean, for me, if I compare it now to what's all the music now and all that, it just seems like it's all synthesized, like commercialized and mechanized. It's like it just doesn't seem like how it. Like I don't know. I'm just maybe thinking maybe it's me or whatever, but it sounds totally different on those kind of mechanical devices compared to electronic devices. It's a totally different sound. Is it me, or is that what really is happening?
Well, there are two ways. Your Magnavox is not what we call in our business audiophile. You can today go out and spend $100,000 just for a turntable, and it doesn't come with a needle at that price. So, there is a conversation and a certain part of our market that goes after ultra great sound, which obviously is not what you're getting out of the Magnavox. No. But on the other hand, just like you had said about the current technology, and that's really why records have made a resurgence, is the current technology, the iTunes, the Amazon stores are pretty much selling MP3s, which is you're paying money for something you don't really physically hold in your hand, and bottom line, you're paying money for something that sounds as good as the radio. And the radio is great, but we like to get our radio for free. To pay for that, there's a difference, and that's where it really comes in. Even on your Magnavox, there's a difference between the MP3, which has a lot of compressed technology in it, and the sound of what records were, how they're made, and how they come out. And even CDs and cassettes have their own sound to them that sounds fuller and sharper than what you get on iTunes with an MP3. And that's where kids have found, and that's where people who used to listen to records and 20 years go by, they haven't listened to records because all of a sudden they've been used to the last 10 years, ever since Napster kind of put the kibosh on the real record industry, and they all got used to this, not full sound. And in the beginning, you were getting it for free. It was sort of pirating. And now that it's a legitimate source, you've gotten used to this not really great sound. And when somebody says, oh, listen to this, I pulled up my dad's old record player, and I'm going to put on Dark Side of the Moon, boom. Doesn't have to be a $100,000 turntable. It sounds a lot better. And then when you're looking at the artwork, all of a sudden you have lyric sheets, you might have a poster, and this is what people were writing for in the golden age of that kind of music, whether you like Bob Dylan or the Moody Blues. They were writing records full of material. They were looking for the first song. They were looking for the first song on side 2. What would be the great song to end it with? We only have X amount of time on a record, so our songs need to be this and that. They were crafting music for records. Today, it might be great that you could hear 500,000 songs by one artist, but that's not what they created. They were creating records in their day. And that's something, too, that you get off a record that you don't just get off a menu when you're online buying MP3s.
No, that's a great overview of what we're listening to now. I mean, it in reference to music. I guess what's old becomes new, right? Or that's what it boils down to. What was old becomes new again.
It can be. To be honest with you, I didn't realize that records would be as hot as they were. In the year 2000, we had 75,000 records instead of 100,000 records, but we weren't selling very many of them. Mm-hmm. And today, it's actually over 50% of our business, and it's a very hot, lucrative market. Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell. In terms of collectibles and stuff, and some of the people in your audience who are dealing with collectibles from back in the day, you were buying stuff from the Franklin Mint or Hummels, and today you don't get anywhere near the money that you paid back then, and they were sold to you as collectibles. Mm-hmm. So you can't always buy something because it's a collectible or will be a collectible. You should always buy something you enjoy, and that way it'll always have value to you. And if you get lucky and it becomes a collectible, even better.
No, you're absolutely right. And again, for myself and a lot of people, we want to go back. I guess, Irv, the best concept here is to say we want to go back when things were simpler. Now everything's so complicated, and everything around us is falling apart. I guess our government, our whole political system, our world's climate, our food, everything's falling apart all around us. Everything's so complicated, so many computers and passwords and different technologies and all that. I guess we're all us, and maybe kids also, they're just too much. It's overwhelming. And when you get overwhelmed, you want to go back to simpler things. I mean, it's just the spirit, the human consciousness, our inner spirit or energy says, we're overstimulated and we're just going crazy, everything around us, there seems like there is no hope in anything. So then we go within ourselves, we go back with what we remember when we were younger, when things were simpler.
They also, there was a quality to what people did back then because that was the state of the art. So even though the state of the art has moved, it hasn't taken away from the quality that was there on so many things. An interesting side comment on all the stuff we carry here. A few years ago, we couldn't really give away anything for Nintendo's first system, NES, which was around in like 1985. And in general, video games weren't collectible. As soon as PlayStation 1 was replaced with 2, you couldn't give away PlayStation 1. And when 3 came out, you couldn't give away PlayStation 2. And that was how the market works, like I said, with iPods and iPhones and stuff like that. But the reality is that there was quality to those games. They were sometimes simpler, as you might say, but they were fun. You spent hours and hours playing things. When you buy the new game systems now, you have to download the games. They won't even sell you the games anymore. So folks who really enjoyed playing that Nintendo system in 1985, they're of a certain age and a certain financial well-being that they want to go back to that. Just like you say, they want a simpler as well as something that they enjoyed back then. And now all of a sudden we get fairly decent money, I'm afraid to say, for some of those old NES games.
Well, that's exactly it. That's what it's kind of nice because if you think about it, baby boomers, which I'm in that bracket, and I'm assuming you're probably also in that bracket as well, is that the complexity of society. It's just so much on top of us, work and trying to make money and pay the bills, and everything keeps going up and up. And, God knows what's ahead of us in reference to this country and where it's heading and all that. So the only thing we can do is go back in our minds and in our spirit and stuff and remember how things were simpler and they were just, not as complex because we had less responsibility and we were able to just enjoy life. And I think that as humans, as us, we go back in time, and I think a lot of us, that's why your business is doing well, really great and stuff, because people are going back like myself and as many, and also too, I also throw in there also the kids, the younger generations, they're probably tapping out all this technology and stuff, and now they're probably also learning a whole new other way of being in reference to these older technologies. So, they're probably, have you noticed that maybe the younger people are beginning also to get back into this type of technology and what you have there at your store?
Well, that's really what a lot of my business is. Again, I'm happy to say that I get 13-year-olds and 16-year-olds and 21-year-olds coming in. Again, one of the things that I really enjoy about what I do is people enjoy what we do here as well. They get pleasure. They get their own enjoyment out of the things they pick up here. A beautiful thing that happens here every so often is a father comes in with their child. 16-year-old child and a 35-year-old father, and they come in and they say, okay, you pick two things and I'll pick two things, and we'll go home and we'll listen to them. And they're doing this together, It's a joining of things because there's joy and fun to be derived from these items that we sell here. And, and that really, music soothes the savage beast, and it does a lot more to make people happy and enjoy in these tough times.
Perfect. Let's mention your website again. You please mention it.
Sure. We're easy to collect. The letter E, the letter Z, the number 2, and the word collect. .com. You can also call us at 201-791-3833 and reach our store. That's at 35-10 Broadway in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. And so there's a lot of ways you can reach out to us.
And also, I read somewhere in the store that you also have on eBay as well. People can go there.
Right. That's part of our mail order situation. We've been on eBay since 1999, which in the real world doesn't sound like a long time, but in the world of eBay, that's a long time. And it gives us access to to the entire world for sales, because not only do we provide something here that major retail doesn't carry, but we're insulated here in this tri-state area where we had everything. If anything ever was sold in a store, we had it in a store around here. But as you go out to the Midwest and the far West and the far South, they had Walmart, and before that they had Woolworths, and before that they had Kresge's, and they never had, specialty stores. With so much of the stuff that we offer here was never even for sale there. So, that's a way to reach out and get, thank heavens, to get something, in the Midwest that they never saw but they can only read about.
Okay. Or with our program here, it is a national program and it is a global program. So again, it gets put out there nationally, and it is also globally. So hopefully other people, from around the country and from the world can definitely benefit from this. If you notice, my NDC Savings Club, it's a healthcare savings club. We help you with money with savings, with dental and vision, all kind of healthcare related. But if you think about it, this is also healthcare. It's healthcare of your soul, healthcare of going back in time, going back and remembering when things were, nicer and easier and not as complicated. So for me, that's why when I came across your store through an advertisement, I say, you know what, I want to get you on the show with your great store, because it is healthcare. It is soothing to the soul. And a lot of times, that's really important, us as humans, that we need to get back to be grounded and to just enjoy the moment.
Absolutely. I mean, it is part of enjoyment. That is what we sell here. I don't mean to be flip about it, but, you go to your mechanic because something's wrong with your car. You go to so many of the services out there because you're either out of something or something's not working right. You come here to find some sort of enjoyment. Your favorite movie, your favorite artist, something by your favorite artist that you didn't even know existed, something that you had when you were little and lost 20 years ago. It's all a search for something that's going to bring some enjoyment. People don't come here because they have to come here, and they don't shop here because they have to buy what we sell here. They come here because they want to buy it, and they get enjoyment out of it. And that's the beauty of why we do this every day.
Yes, and that's part of healthcare.
Absolutely.
It's part of healthcare. That's why I think it's a great fit to the NDC Savings Club. That's what I believe. Getting out there, it is healthcare. Getting back into it. All right, we're coming back now to the end of our show, and at this point, I really appreciate your time and your great store there. I mean, again, everyone, go to our archives, go to PRN, and again, thank you so much for your time and your great store there.
Thank you for having me on there. We're always happy to spread the word.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. That's our show again. Please like us on Facebook. And again, we'll be back next week on the show. And thanks, everyone.
No more back thinking, time for thinking.